Audio journeys from Travel Radio International. Explorations into destinations around the world. Author Thomas Steinbeck, the son of American novelist John Steinbeck, says that he was blessed with a family tradition that involves storytelling. While on a book signing tour for his first collection of short stories, Down to a Soundless Sea, Thomas talks with Patricia Lawrence about his book and his life.
The book that just came out was not intended to be a very big deal at all. As a matter of fact, I wrote it for the people who lived in the Big Sur primarily. And I have a friend named Michael Fried, who, along with the Posts, who I've known for years and years, the Post family, the Post Ranch in the Big Sur, they were building a resort hotel basically to save the property with the last of the Post Ranch Inn. Part of it was where Ventanas is right now. It was a big, big ranch. And slowly, as cattle ceased being a viable product to raise in the Big Sur, to save the land, they needed to do other things with it. So Michael Fried was building this hotel, and I was sort of there at the very beginning. And Bill Post, who's still alive, who's the grandson of the man I talk about in the very first story, we were all sitting around one evening and just telling tall tales that I'd heard since I was a kid, because this all comes from the oral tradition. Because my father was a great storyteller, and he loved storytellers, and so we'd sit around at the dinner table and all tell stories. And so many of these stories I'd heard many, many, many times. And so we were sitting around, and I started telling Michael Fried and Bill Post the stories I knew, and Bill Post was telling the stories that he knew. And Michael Fried said, well, would you write some of these down, and we'll do a little self-publication so that my guests at the hotel will begin to appreciate the area they're in beyond the scope of how beautiful it is and the coast and everything else. And I then was writing a couple of screenplays, and I was really busy, and I said, yeah, if there's no deadline, I'd be happy to do this. But none of us, I particularly didn't think that anybody north of Santa Cruz or south of San Luis Obispo would be remotely interested in this book. And I saw it sitting next to Gideon's Bible. And I asked Michael, I said, well, I like eating. I've gotten really used to that. Are we going to make any money off of this? And he said, well, the same way we make money off the bathrobes. If it's missing from the room, we charge the guests. Real big money. And actually, the money he was talking about is better than Ballantyne pays me. So I said, this is really great. So we did this little book. And then at one point, my father's agents in New York City, and I don't have a literary agent because I wasn't a published author. I belong to the Writers Guild of America. I write screenplays. He asked, just out of politeness, he said, I've never seen anything you've written. Could you send me the manuscript? And he was on his way to the book fair in Germany. And he took the manuscript with him, and he fell in love with the stories. And when he got there, he took off the cover pages so no one would know who'd written them, and started passing around, because it was in manuscript form, started passing the individual stories around to other publishers, and got such positive response that he came back to the United States and called up and said, I really think you should consider a much broader publication of this book, because I think it could really do well.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?